Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, classmates. Um, my name is Sharon, and I will be reporting from Module 3, Principles 47, Use of Specific and Concrete Language, Avoid using jargon or too many technical terms, Be careful when using idioms, and keep your sentences short. So for Principle 4, Use of Specific Concrete Language. Module 1 taught us that our message should be tailored to our audience, understanding their background and culture to avoid conflict that might arise in a community or creating a bad reputation by poor use of language. So fast forward to Module 3, and we continue to address our audience with concrete and specific language. It's like with our readers in the case of text medium or with viewers in video format. We, as DevCom students, should give them a clear idea of the topic we want to present. For example, when inviting your guests to a wedding, we don't just say church in wherever city you're living. You give specific details, the right address, the landmark, and shops or streets that might be nearby. For example, when in a community assessing the needs or problems in their village, a social worker has a specific instrument or set of questions that directly ask for particular answers. So, if we do not use specific and concrete language to our readers and viewers, we may give them the impression that we do not value their time by being too general and vague. So, for my example, I will be using a 2024 figure, which is Go Hopping or Alice Go. That picture is from the Inquirer. So, my first example has a very general answer. Question: Describe your childhood. Answer: I grew up in a farm. How does this make it general? So, it does not describe if her childhood was happy, what games did she enjoy, or what did their friends do for fun. So, my specific and concrete example for my second question is: Are you a Chinese spy? Answer: No, I am not a Chinese spy. So, our second example is an improvement of having a very direct answer to a specific question. So, Principle 5. Avoid using jargon or too many technical terms. As professionals in our respective fields, we have terms we know too well that we use every day. However, terms familiar to us might be rare to our audiences or the community we want to reach to. So, for example, I come from the advertising field and may use terms that are not as relatable to you, and you may also use terms that aren't relatable to me. You have expertise I may not possess, and terms that could also be foreign to me. So, too much use of technical terms and jargon can appear as a barricade to your audience. Hence, they may not reciprocate your type of communication. So, for example, when giving a word of encouragement to a kindergarten graduation program, the resource speaker should use language easily understood by kids at that age rather than the jargon or technical terms of their expertise. And speaking of resource speaker, another event that reminds me of the Rappler clip of our vice president's argument with the terms during the House hearing, where she looked for gray areas to avoid taking an oath. So, terms really, really matter. So, principle 6, be careful when using idioms. So, idiomatic expressions go way back and each has roots in it. It can come across as witty and strategic. However, it can also come across as improper if incorrectly used. So I think it's also important to consider when and where you will use idioms. For example, magsunog ng kilay or burning your brows in a salon, simply just a message of encouragement to students to study or work harder could make your customers double think even though you mean well. Or break a leg, congratulating patients who overcame their successful surgery could be bad timing. So there are many idioms to use, but just be really, really careful. So my example would be from Acrolinks, just published this year. So there are common idioms that might be frequently used. So we have ones from the book. So I found ones here. For example, number 1, I could care less, which is an incorrect usage of I couldn't care less. So what would you mean if you say, if you could care less, then Acrolinks would define here, then you haven't reached your bottom yet and you aren't making your strongest point. So the correct term or usage would be I couldn't care less. Another example would be pique my interest. So the correct term would be pique my interest instead of pique. So because pique my interest would be if your interest had already reached its peak, but perhaps they say here if perhaps there might be an actual word for that, but the correct usage would be peak, not peak. Okay, so principle number 7, keep your sentences short. In business, you should keep your application letters concise and non-flowery, as busy people always have their time ticking. In content writing and advertising, your headline should be able to catch attention, but it won't work if your title is too long. However, it doesn't mean you cannot expound your idea or completely just abandon or chop off the point you're trying to make. Clear and short sentences are easier to understand. Instead of writing a paragraph, you can try to rewrite concise sentences. Rereading and rewriting gives your audience a better view of your explanation. Plus, if you have translators, you help them deliver faster translations. So here are my references, and thank you so much for listening. Good morning, good afternoon, and good night.